Renaldo, you've got all your guys now, or pretty close to it. Is this a game-changing unit? Can you change the way that you play now? Change the way that you call things in the secondary now?
I mean, all of that's going to be, on Vic, but, I think the more and more we get those guys out for practice and they get the chance to communicate with each other, I think it's going to allow us to do more. We want to do more. Obviously, having, Jalen and X for 2 consecutive weeks, that's going to be huge. They're still building the chemistry along with the safety. So all that is important just so these practice reps, even if it's 8 reps, they're trying to maximize and get as many as they can just so that they can have that communication, have that talking, so know what each other's feeling in those situations. So we're building to that, and 2 weeks in, obviously coming off the KC week, but another weekend it should help us.
Can you use the term? Could I use the term dominant or game-changing for the potential of your secondary?
That's up to you. That's up to you. But we want to be that as a group. We're that's the main thing that I think the whole unit we talk about. If we're working together, all doing our job, we can be that dominant group, and I think they all see the potential. And like I said, it just takes time of those guys playing with each other and building that chemistry.
There were a couple more targets of Cater, which is probably predictable when you have two all-pro corners, than the combined targets for Ramsey and X against Kansas City. How is Cater playing, and do you think that's natural that teams are always going to target the guy who's not the Pro Bowl or All-Pro?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we pride ourselves on, and Vic does a good job of moving it down around constantly, so one person doesn't just feel attacked. Even if you got 2 really good corners on the outside, just constantly moving that down around so teams can get a beat on what you're doing. But there are going to be downs where Cater's going to have that long one-on-one, and they know we got 2 good guys outside. And I thought he did a good job the past week versus Kansas City, and he was up for the challenge. He knew the ball was going to come there, and he has to be expecting that when you have 2 good guys on the outside lane, when you do get those one-on-one opportunities, that most likely is probably going to be an attack at him.
Coach, how do you start the week of game planning when you have a receiver like Devonte Adams, who some teams want to double him, some teams want to go with their best corner press up? Like, how does that change the way you plan for an offense when there's a receiver that commands that much attention?
Yeah, I think when you got a guy like that, I mean, obviously he's a dominant guy, but I think it just takes a defense. Whether that's rush and coverage working together, all trying to figure out the puzzle to stop a guy like that. Not only do you got Devonte, coming off these last 2 weeks, they've really been running the ball very well. So when you got to apply more guys to the box, it's going to open up those things where we have to have our schemes intact. And I think it's just going to be, like I mentioned before, a chance to move it down around. Maybe it's a guy doubling here, or maybe you just letting those guys ISO and handle their business when maybe the down dictates that we got to stop the run. So I think it's going to be an effort on that whole defense, the whole unit, and the coaches being able to give these guys some tells to help out in those situations. But it's tough to stop a guy like 17. I mean, I've seen him run through double teams. I've seen him slip underneath, 2 men. So, but you got to be locked into the details and playing really good technique versus guy, because regardless if you're doubled or not, they're going to force feed him.
Ronaldo, the approach with Nick Needham, who I guess he's essentially going through training camp right now in the dime. Ramsey is out there every down. How do you acclimate Needham? How do you get him up to speed? Does special teams help? What do you do there?
Yeah, the biggest thing is for him is trying to get as many of those service team reps as he can at those positions. Hopefully, it's a lot of carryover maybe from the scout teams that he's mocking. That he can apply to his game, but those reps count. Pre-practice counts. All those little things. He has to be a little bit more dialed in and detailed, and maybe have a little sense of urgency even in the walkthroughs, just to get called back up to speed. But Nick has approached it head on, and he's doing his best, because we talk about the potential of being dominant. He knows he has to be one of those pieces in order for us to become that.
Pro Football Focus, not that I view them as the gospel, but they rate Javon Holland as a high safety, if not the number one safety in the NFL this season for majority of the season. I see that as something that obviously is a great accomplishment, but there aren't that many splash plays. What is he doing, particularly at the safety position, that has helped this defense excel?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for him is he's the true quarterback. He's the maestro back there. He gets everyone lined up. He makes all the checks. Obviously we know he can get the ball if needed, but right now he's been directing us and making sure that everybody's in the right spot so we can play at a high level. And maybe the pitch count may not show right now, but sometimes the numbers don't really add up to what he brings to the table. And we know he can get the ball as far as interceptions and those things, but he's doing everything that we ask Sam Ward. So if you don't have a good quarterback in the back end, it's hard for a defense to run. It's hard for it to predict or stay ahead of what the offense may do. And those are the things that maybe the numbers don't show as of yet, but those are things that he brings to the Miami Dolphins defense.
I was going to ask you about Deshawn Elliot from being around him, Ronaldo. What skills do you think make him a good NFL safety? What specific skills?
He's been a great compliment to Javon for one, making sure that they really do a good job. I think those summer reps really helped. He is a physical guy. As you've seen in a couple games, he can impose that will. But he's just a guy who's ready. He brings energy to the unit. And I think that chemistry right now with those two working together and had those summer reps is really paying off for us big. And you get a guy off in free agency, you're hoping that the tape shows up, but he's been that and more.
Renaldo, if I can look back a little bit, what did you guys do against Travis Kelce, and how do you think you guys did executing the game plan?
Yeah, I think it was that it was the details. It was going back and viewing all the games of how he transitioned out the pocket when he's in the pocket, the timing of his routes, and just making sure that we had a eye on him at all times. If we can get more than one eye on him, then that was the goal. But I thought the detail of just how guys executed the game plan and the calls versus him, and knowing the situations and knowing when Pat would be looking for him. I think all of that and just added up for a good game plan for us. And we know he's still a tough cover, regardless of how many yards that he ended up with. Those guys were tired at the end of the ball game because he adds a lot to the game.